Every part of this van starts with a similar question. In this case, what problem am I trying to solve? With the shower, there were several. First, I'm building a recirculating shower, so the shower pan itself will be elevated off of the floor and all of the drainage plumbing underneath that will be fully contained within the van. Second, when we travel, we don't normally use leveling jacks. Remember, our use case is typically driving long days and then parking overnight. Our maximum overnight stay is normally 8 or 9 hours. We don't set up camp and put the awning out and chairs and leveling it and do all those things normally. We'll do that occasionally, but our standard use case is just drive, sleep, drive, sleep. So I don't want to waste a lot of time with leveling blocks. That takes time when we get there, and it takes time when we're trying to leave. And when the van's not level, for the most part, we don't care too much. It only comes into play when I'm designing things like the shower pan, where the slope of the van has a direct impact on how the water drains or doesn't drain. Those two items created a very unique set of requirements. Next, I needed a shower pan that fit within the space I had to work with, and I wanted it to have walls that were 2 inches tall all the way around. That way I could use the shower pan as the reservoir for the recirculating shower system. I wanted a stainless steel shower pan for its durability, and most importantly, I wanted a shower to be able to drain no matter what angle we're parked at. Most shower pans have a single drain with the floor sloped towards it. That works great in a house, or if you have an RV or a van where you constantly level it when you're parked. Remember, we don't level our van in our standard use case. Depending on where we park, our van could be leaning to the left, right, forward, rear, and I don't want to spend a lot of time driving around trying to figure out the most level spot to park in. Sometimes you just have to park where you're able to park, and that's it. So I wanted a shower pan that worked no matter how or where I parked. No commercial off-the-shelf solution offered any of those things, so I designed my own. This is a custom stainless steel shower pan, 18 gauge steel, 2-inch tall walls all the way around the pan, 4 drains, 1 in each corner. And as an added bonus, I had a local HVAC fabrication shop make this for me for $350. This is not a clean, shiny mirror finish. This is more industrial. You can see the welds in each of the corners. It wasn't designed for how it looks. This was designed for how it functions. And after I put our cedar mat in here, you won't even see the shower pan, so what difference does it make? In this video, I'm going to show you how I installed this shower pan, as well as how I cut each of the drain holes using a dimple die set, flared so that the drain assembly sits flush on the bottom of the pan. Enough talking about it, let's get to work. So I just picked up my order from Ohio Fabricators. This is our shower pan. It's 24 inches wide by 41 inches long, and they gave me 2 extra pieces of metal to experiment with as I use my dimple die set. This is 18 gauge. It's pretty heavy duty. It's a lot stronger than I thought it was going to be. So very excited to get this going. All right, we've got the hole cut here, and this is the right size to get the bolt through. I picked up the shower pan the other day, and they also gave me 2 of these 6x6 plates, which are the same exact metal that the shower pan is made out of. And I asked them for this on purpose because I need to practice on these, making the holes with the flare before I try to attempt it on the actual shower pan. So this is how it works. We've got this dimple die set, and it has the bottom plate, which has the threads for this to thread into, the cutter, which sits in there, right? And you put the washer here, put that through the top plate, and the top plate has the flare dimple part here. Put that together like this. Get that going like that. Okay. Now from here, you just continue to tighten this until it not only cuts through, but then creates the flare. So I think the best method to do this is to put this in a vise. It actually has two flattened spaces here to go into a bench vise. And then you could take a ratchet set and tighten that. Okay, so I've definitely got enough leverage now to get this to turn. I'm just gonna keep going at it slowly. Okay, I heard a pop. I believe that is the metal cutting through. And now we continue to do this until it gets, this piece has to get flush with the metal in order to create the dimple or flare that I want. I think it's a flare. Oh, maybe the pop wasn't the metal so much as my vise. All right, let's keep going. All right, that was the pop. But again, vise or sheet metal. Let's see. Sheet metal. Okay, yeah, I see us making a dent. I didn't mean to make a pun, but we are now making a dent. Okay. Okay, and you just go all the way down to where that is flush and tight, and that should do it. Let's remove that and see what we've got. First hole cut. Look at how nice that turned out. All right, so I washed off the cutting fluid and made this nice and clean. I also carefully touched the edge here. There's no burr here. This is a nice clean cut, so I'm quite happy with it. Next thing I want to do is test the fit of the drain. Okay, that's attached. That seems like it will be perfect. Before we do any modifications to the shower pan, we're going to do a leak test to make sure that it is watertight in its current brand new state. So I'm just filling it up with water here, being careful not to splash it out of the pan. And after we get this filled up, we're going to let it sit for a little while and monitor the situation. That should do it. All right, I'm going to do a little experiment. I need to cut out a notch for the toilet drawer to come out. This is just a little bit too high. So I'm going to take the angle grinder and I'm going to grind out the section that I marked off here. I just need to go down a little bit. It's going to be an ugly cut. It's fine. That's going to be covered up by the finish wall material as well as the hatch door. So go ahead and get that cut. No leaks even after all of that grinding. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dump this out and do a test fit, see what happens. I wish I could find an easier way to do this, but I have not. So I only have 4 of these to do. I'm gonna do one at a time. I'm not gonna drill the pilot holes for any of the other ones until I get this one finished. And then I'm just gonna do one at a time because these notoriously get dull. And if it does have trouble getting through this one, I don't want to start the next one. So at any rate, let's give it a try. And I did put a lot of this cutting oil on the cutting mechanism, so that should also help us a little bit. Okay. That's fine. It's worth it. Okay, that is tight. All right. And another successful cut and flare. That's just the cutting oil, so I'll clean all that up. Here's a look at the underside. You can see I've got a little cleanup to do. I've got just a little piece there, a bird to get rid of, but for the most part, looking good. And this is the center of this hole is 4 inches from this side and 4 inches from this side. And I've made the rest of them exactly the same. Okay, so you can see the drains in each of the 4 corners. And now these drains come with a 1-inch barb, which I had to reduce to a 1/2 inch. And I did that specifically because this 1-inch tubing is very thick and difficult to work with, so it doesn't bend this easily. You don't have as much give here. And one of the things that was important is that I needed to have some flexibility here so that these can connect and move and position, because I'm not going to have easy access to this. So this is the drain. So it comes around from the sink up here through here to where the sink is. You can see my mock-up of where the counter is going to go across here. So that's the drain. Comes down here. This is a 3/4 inch to a 1 inch. By the way, check valve to make sure water only goes this way. And this is a check valve from the shower to make sure water only goes that way. And I did that on purpose because if the shower is draining, you don't want the water going up that way. And if the sink is draining, you don't want water going that way. So quick and easy solution, not a big deal. The drain does go here, and that is coming down the van here, and you can see all the way over to the gray water tank. So the next steps for this area is for me to figure out what else I need to have in here before I put the shower pan base down, because once that goes in, it's going to be screwed and glued. It's not ever coming back up again, or if it does, it's going to be really difficult. So I want to try to get this all settled before I put that on. So I don't know if it's going to happen today. I think I need more time to think about it. For one thing, I need to make sure that I get all of these extra pieces glued down. When you figure out where I want to put additional pieces like that, I want to run the wiring that I have coiled up here through here and up this wall. That wiring will be for the water heater. It will also be for the bathroom lights and switches that will go up in the wall here. So I need to run the wire, glue these down, clean the floor, and what else? One of the things I definitely want to do is a water test before I put this in the van. So I've got all 4 drains connected. I've got this end of the hose up high, so the water should stay down at this level. And I'm looking for leaks. This is a 2-inch lip here, so hopefully we'll get water. Yeah, we're getting water over there now before it starts to come out over here. I'm gonna wait until it gets up pretty close to the top here before I shut it off. That puts the maximum amount of water in here, and I'm gonna let that sit for a while. Okay, that's been sitting for about an hour, and I don't see any issues here whatsoever. No droplets of water, no leaking anywhere. Pretty happy with that. Notice I've got stainless steel hose clamps where they're needed, but check out these blue connectors here. No clamps. This is a pretty interesting connector. It's by a company called Apollo. I found it at Lowe's, and the way these are threaded, The idea is they guarantee no leaks without clamps. Now, pain in the butt to get them on. I wouldn't put them on in a place where I had limited ability to work, but when these were out in the open and I had the ability to do that, it was quite a fight with a heat gun and pressing and a heat gun and twisting and pressing. And well, at any rate, they're there, and pretty cool little connector. Look at how that's swollen here to get up on there. So this is the normal size of the tubing, and imagine what it took to get this all the way up on there. And again, these threads are the way they're made. They're guaranteed not to leak. It's been about a week since I recorded any video last. It's taken me that time to figure out what else I need to do before I secure this shower base to the floor. And turns out it was a lot. But it had more to do with planning and making sure that I set myself up for success more than anything else. So right now I feel like I'm in that place where I'm just about to install it. Another thing I wanted to do before I put this base down was to run the wiring. So these are the wires for power for the hot water heater as well as the lights. And then I have all of these here. I have 3 different runs of 14 gauge marine wire for the switch panel, right? So some of the items I need to operate are over here. The pump and 2 of the valves are there. So I need to be able to connect those to the switch panel. So I'm going to devise a test for the drain, and then I'm going to clean all of this up, and then we might actually install this. This is the tubing for the sink drain. It goes into this wall, will come out here and to the bottom of the sink. So it's a 3/4 inch inner diameter, and it is connected up into this here. Now, this may not be the best test, but it gives me something. I'm going to use the hose and try to spray water in here. And again, try not to get it into the van. So just some passive water moving through is all we're looking for. And then I want to go under the van and make sure that it's draining into the gray water tank. That should do it. Stick that there so it'll hold it up. I have no water in any of these connections. Everything here is perfectly dry. This is dry. I don't see any water dropping from the hose here. Now from this point all the way to the gray water tank is just one piece of hose. There aren't any connections in it until I get to the very end. And here's where it connects into the gray water tank. You can see no water leakage here. Everything is looking good. No drops of water on the ground. Everything here looks dry. Okay, there's a little bit, it's a droplets of water in here, but you can see the water's not pooling in this whatsoever. So I think that we've got our slope correct, and this will work out really nicely. All right, I think I procrastinated enough. I am now going to install the subfloor for the shower. So I ran all the wires I need to run for the switches and electrical. I did tests of all of the plumbing in terms of the drainage. It didn't leak. In terms of the kitchen supply and bathroom supply, did have a leak in the bathroom. But at least I know exactly what the problem is. It's this bushing here, because it's a plastic bushing, and I had put a little too much torque on that when I tightened it down. Loctite marine adhesive going down. Before I put the pocket screws in, I want to make sure that this is as far down as it needs to go. I don't want the pocket screws to lift it up out of place where it needs to be. So just making sure that I put enough weight on here to keep it down. All right, I'm going to clean the bottom of this and then get this set in place as well. More than anything else, I want to get this area right around here as clean as I possibly can to create a good seal for that rubber part of the drain. this is where I did the cutout for the potty door. So just make sure I get that oriented correctly. And drop it in carefully as I can. This is the important part. I need this to be flat up against this wall because this is where it's going to show the most. The other corners, I have other workarounds for that, but this has to be as perfect as we can make it. I'm going to put the weights on. I want the weight that I add to this to be as equally distributed as possible. So I have this plywood I can put down. It's not perfect, but it will help. I'd actually like to put a little more weight in there, so I'm going to go get some more. All right, well, that's close to 250 pounds on top of here now. I think that should be okay to get a nice compression going and make sure this is exactly where I want it to be. I put down the moving blanket because a lot of times these bags leak, and especially these sand bags. So I don't want to get any of that down on the floor that I just cleaned. So I did go ahead and wash these again one last time in soapy warm water. One mistake I can already tell you I made is not putting these in before putting the floor on. They will fit through here, but that's not as ideal. Make sure I get that seated properly. I do have Loctite on all of the bolts. Okay, so I'm reaching through here and I'm lifting that up. You can see the movement here. Lifting it up into place. Get this lined up. Okay, double check the orientation at the bottom. Is it pointing the right direction? All right. Get this centered perfectly. Tighten it down. Okay, now for this one. Puts us in a challenging situation here with this one. I'm going to see if I can go in this way instead of coming in from that way. Let's hold this up in place as I go towards it so I can feel when I get there and also not push it out of the way. Let's see if I can get this lodged under it. That's pretty close. Pushing down on a lever moves the drain up into place so I can attach it. Okay. Hey, look! I did it! I'm also going to see if I can get a visual through here. Make sure it's lined up correctly. So we're going to have to go with that. And of course, we'll do another water test when we're all finished. Make sure there are no leaks. If there are, I just have to keep working at it and keep adjusting it until I get it right. All right, so let's get this last one put in. The ones on the side are a little easier. I can get my hand in there. You can see it has a little bit of movement like this, right? So I'm just looking to make sure I get it centered in the dimple as much as I possibly can. Also making sure that the orientation below here is that the drain is going this way. Like that. The shower pan is now fully installed, and every single one of those design requirements was fully addressed. It's built to the exact size I need to perfectly fit the space I had to work with, maximizing the size of the shower. The shower pan is 2 inches tall all the way around, so I could use this as the reservoir for a recirculating shower. It's durable stainless steel, and I have a drain in each of the 4 corners, allowing us to travel worry-free no matter where or how we park. We'll be able to use the shower. While some people adapt their build to fit an off-the-shelf shower pan, I designed this shower pan to fit our specific requirements to fit in the space we had and to function the way we want it to. And I pull it off for a fraction of the cost most people would pay for a stainless steel shower pan. The next step is turning these 4 drains into a recirculating shower system. That's where things get really interesting. And I'll show you that in the next video, so stay tuned.